felt like royalty tonight, am I right? Felt like royalty tonight. But if you want to be real royalty in the state of Louisiana, you got to bring us home another national championship. Go Tigers! All right, Coach, we have a proclamation for you. This is on behalf of the city of New Orleans. Coach, we wish you all the best as the new coach at LSU. We love you. We're going to be backing you. Go get them. We need you. We need that national championship. Next year, let's be celebrating a national championship. Let's go, go Tigers! We love you, Coach.
Look, we're from Louisiana. We like sparkles, we like diamonds, we like Mardi Gras, we like to eat, and we like to party. Look, we're from Louisiana. We like sparkles, we like diamonds, we like Mardi Gras, we like to eat.
Say this, you probably felt like royalty tonight, am I right? Felt like royalty tonight. But if you want to be real royalty in the state of Louisiana, you got to bring us home another national championship. Go Tigers! All right, Coach, we have a proclamation for you. This is on behalf of the city of New Orleans. Coach, we wish you all the best as the new coach at LSU. We love you. We're going to be backing you. Go get them. We need you. We need that national championship. Next year, let's be celebrating a national championship. Let's go, go Tigers! We love you, Coach.
LSU Odyssey live, everybody. How's it going? Good night. Good night. I shouldn't say good night. It's a good night for an awesome night of LSU football talk. Here we are Sunday night with AP of Timeouts and Tangents joining us. We were just on his show this last week. When was that? Was that Monday night? I think that was Monday night. And so go check that out if you haven't checked that out as well. But tonight, I want to really try and as much as we can delve into kind of the making of AP and who he is and kind of introducing him if you haven't heard of him, if you haven't looked into his podcasting, if you haven't watched his stuff, if you haven't followed his accounts. Well, tonight we're going to change that. You're going to be at the end of all of this, hopefully doing all of the above, following him, subscribing to him, and watching and checking out what he does. Because AP has a lot of style, a lot of swagger, but at the same time, he brings substance to what he's bringing to the table. And the way he presents things, the way he talks. I mean, I wish I could talk like him as eloquently as he does. I usually I'm a better writer than speaker. I think people who have followed our stuff long enough are kind of get that at this point. But we wanted to intro AP of Timeouts and Tangents if you haven't heard of him before we brought him in. And so without further ado, we will bring AP.
Lon, I did not deserve such effusive praise and such an introduction, man. Like, thank you so much for allowing me to be on your platform tonight. Thank you so much for that eloquent and very high bar of expectation that you set with this intro, man. Thank you. Like, I'm just starting out, so
exclamation
to
point on the very high part. On the very high part.
Like I have to live up to that standard now. So thank you for raising the bar for me. Again, you know, I challenge myself to be better than yesterday every day I wake up, and you know, like getting that type of credit and adulation from someone like you. As you see my son crawling behind me trying to stay out of the shot. What up, G
What's
Moose?
up? What's up, my man? Hey.
It's all right. He can't hear. I got my headphones in.
What's up?
Nah, you good, man. So I just want to say like thank you again, Lon. Like I've been following you for the longest. So being able to have you on my pod the other night was a tremendous accomplishment for myself, and then getting to know you through that episode was definitely comforting, and it definitely been able to build a bond that I didn't think that I was ever gonna get. So thank you so much for that, man. I'm so excited about tonight. What up, G Moose? What up, baby?
This is also great for us to get other voices that matter in the LSU community on the show, because your voice absolutely is rising, and a voice that is, as we just found out tonight, very well in demand. Um, and so we'll jump right into it since we have limited time. AP, I really wanted to find out what part you're from. Louisiana, right?
Yeah, I'm from New Orleans,
And
born and
you're
raised.
okay. You're New Orleans born and bred. That's okay.
Yep.
And who had the biggest LSU influence on you? You'd say.
Honestly, I'd probably have to go back to like I told you on the pod. It was the Kevin Falk days and the Herb Tyler days. Like like I told you, growing up in New Orleans, having gone to private school my entire life, from Holy Name of Jesus Elementary School to Brother Martin for high school, being the only black kid in most of the classes that I was in, seeing a guy like Herb Tyler play quarterback at LSU meant a lot to me because black quarterbacks in the late 80s, early 90s coming up as a kid was not a thing. We were ostracized to being not intelligent enough or just too athletic to our talent and athleticism had to be used in other areas of the field.
Yep.
So seeing LSU take that chance on Herb Tyler and allowing him to not just be the guy, but actually be himself while being the guy was it spoke volumes to me. So teams like LSU and Florida State with Charlie Ward were
Yes.
critical impressions on my football fandom and my love for the game at such an early age. So I know LSU wasn't, like literally the best of the best coming up, but my Louisiana pride will always outweigh everything because this is home, and I'm from Louisiana, so I'll talk bad about Louisiana because this is where I'm from. But I'm not gonna let somebody else from outside of Louisiana talk bad about Louisiana. It's like it's like me talking about my family. Yeah, I can talk about my family. That's my family. But let somebody else talk about my family, then we gotta fight.
Absolutely. That's absolutely understood. And that's pretty much human nature at its core. I'm also thinking, like, who in your family like had the biggest influence on you, like being an LSU diehard. Like, who was the
Nobody.
who? Oh, really?
Nobody. Yeah. So growing up, most of the men in my family were either died when I was at a young age. So I don't know who my father is. My grandmother and grandfather particularly raised me, and they were both gone by the time I turned. By the time I was 13 and in eighth grade, all of my other older cousins and siblings were either in jail or not around. So I grew up around mostly women. The women in
Really?
my family, yeah, the women in my family grew up. They went to Southern for college, Southern of New Orleans, and I had a cousin who actually ended up going to Spelman. So the LSU influence was just all me. It's just me and my love for football. And that my love for LSU is kind of like feathered itself throughout my family, because of it. Because I was able to go to LSU during Katrina and found my and they saw how invested I was into it, and then as the prominence that LSU has made throughout the nation, the reverberation that it has just within the just not even the football program, just the school itself, the impacts that it has on New Orleans with the School of Medicine, the School of Dentistry, those things, and having family members that are in the medical field, it's helped seep itself. It found its way into my family, through myself and through those other avenues. So nobody in my family has had any ties to LSU or any fandom to LSU to impart that onto me. I just did it within myself, and I see the effects of it on my
Wow.
son now. Like my son can now say that he's an LSU fan because of me. My wife can say she's an LSU fan now because of me. Things that they wouldn't have had it not been for me, for my legacy. I see those things starting to play out now, and it's amazing to see.
That is such a unique story because they're just simply, I mean, I've said it before. I had brothers around who were going to say, "Hey, that's Randy Moss. Watch his ass." This is this. So I kind of had some people to show me the way. You were surrounded by women, no other
Hmm.
men around, and you went out of that was your thing. That
Yeah.
was your thing. And did you ever find at a very early age, young childhood friends who were also watching Tigers games with you or going to games potentially with you?
No. So
Really?
my first LSU game didn't come until 2006 when I was already on campus. I didn't get an opportunity to go to LSU football games as a child. I mean, hell, I didn't start going to Saints games until I was almost an adult. I was like a senior in high school almost, and I just had a couple friends who lucked up on tickets to get me in the building. Like I was able to see the Randy Moss, Dante Culpepper, Michael Lewis gold jersey game where the Saints almost won but found a way to give it up. That was my first game.
Wow.
Um, that was my first Saints game ever. That was my first non-high school game, and even before then, like growing up, my life was a struggle. It wasn't, I was able to go to private school, but I mean, my family started off in a two-bedroom house with like 8, 9 people in a room. Like my grandmother and grandfather were fortunate enough to have their own place because they were school teachers. So at a young age, they took me in, and I stayed with them. So they were older people, and they lived a very conservative life. They were very frugal. They had a car but never drove. Still caught the bus. So I had to learn how to catch the bus all the way around the city. They valued education highly. I mean, they're educators. So, but even within that, my grandmother definitely pushed me to find who I was, and my grandfather was a military man. He was in the Navy, and he wasn't like one of those strict military men that was very disciplined and rigorous. He was pretty open. He had his own struggles. He fought his own demons, but he recognized that I was into sports at a young age, and he just let me consume sports. He was a Lakers fan for basketball and a Bulls fan, so those two things rubbed off on me. But when it came to football, he just loved football, and I loved football. So he let me play football throughout the house. I would throw the football, run around, everything. So my love for LSU and consuming football literally just always born naturally to me. It wasn't anybody just like forcing it on me. Like with my son, he can't say I incepted it into him. He
Eh,
he came out the womb, and the first thing I gave him was a bottle and a soft football. Like he had no choice in it, and it's unfortunate I put that love in him, and I'm glad I did because he absolutely loves it now. But for me, it was just me. I found the game, learned the game, loved the game, and then, like I said, my pride for Louisiana, tie that to the flagship school and the flagship professional teams, and here I am today.
Man, I have so many questions from that, and so many things
Please.
that made me laugh because that's, I mean, my grandmother who was widowed when we started going over there and kind of came of age because we lost our grandpa before I was even born. And so we're going over there, and I remember that car would always be just in that garage, and I maybe saw her drive it three damn times the entire, like, however long, until I think maybe I was 18, 19. Yeah, I was 19 when she passed away. Like, so never, like, I saw her drive that car like twice. So, like, yes, the same damn thing where they're just not, yeah. But also Hurricane Katrina, man. Like, I didn't have that question on the list because I didn't know where you're from.
Hmm.
Um, New Orleans, Hurricane Katrina. What, if I may ask, what did you go through and how did that affect you and your family during that time?
Man,
Like, I
uh,
can't even
so
imagine.
like I said, my family's small. Was 9 of us in a two-bedroom house outside of myself, my grandmother, my grandfather. By the time Katrina came, my grandmother and grandfather had passed. They passed in '98, so 7 years. My mom and my sister moved into the house with me, where my grandmother and grandfather were raising me in. So it was me, myself, my mom, and my sister, and I will never forget. By that point, I was 20, and I was, finding myself as an adult young man. I've been through several things I had to do to grow up kind of fast. So the relationship with myself and my mom was kind of strained. So when I talk about Katrina, there's you got to have an understanding of what I was going through as a young man too. So I was making decisions on my own, and still having respect for my mom. I let her know, like, look, y'all can either stay here or y'all can get on this road. But either way it goes, I'm leaving. So my mom was like, well, I'm not going. It's not going to be that bad, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, cool, great. Later. And once she saw, like, I figured out a way to, like, find my way out, she, like, told me, like, the night before, August 28th, she was like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and go. So she got with my great grandmother, who was still alive, my great grandmother, my two great aunts, two cousins, their kids. So it was 8 other people that we had involved. Now I had a cousin who was out on a cruise, apparently, and
Oh man,
yeah, she was out on a cruise with her and her family. And this was my cousin who went to Spelman.
right in the
The
path
rest
of
of
the
them,
hurricane.
yeah, they were in the path of her. They got diverted on the boat and had got diverted to to Galveston. My
That's some
other aunt,
scary shit.
my other aunt who I'm very close with, she's a nurse. She's an RN, so she got activated to the emergency team at University Medical Center in the heart of New Orleans. So we had to leave her behind. My eldest cousin um, was locked up in prison. My oldest male cousin was locked up in
Oh,
prison.
oh
So
man,
he was up.
that'd be your worst nightmare too.
He was upstate. He was upstate. So my great grandmother, my great aunt, and my other cousin and her 2 kids. My other cousin and her 2 kids originally didn't want to. They didn't want to leave. So it took a lot of convincing up until the final hour for them to say, "Okay, yeah, we're gonna go." We all pile into 2 cars. Um, my mom started driving first, and we were going to Houston. My mom made it to Baton Rouge and tapped out. After that, I had to switch and I started driving. And 16 hours later, we made it to Houston. And what's crazy, my best friend who stayed right around the corner from me, the morning Katrina, well, the morning Katrina hit that night, made landfall while we were on the interstate. But that morning was when the levees broke. And I called my best friend. I woke up. They woke me up in a panic because we're in a hotel room. And my mom woke me up and she was like, "Oh my God, Anthony, you're right, you're right, you're right." And I was like, "Right about what? Like, what's going on?" She was like, "The levees have broken, the city's flooded," and I panicked. And I called my best friend who was right around the corner with me, who was supposed to leave. And it's hard for me. I'm getting emotional because I'm thinking about it. When I called him, cell phone wasn't working, so I called his house phone, and I was like, "Yo, what's up? Like, how are you and your family making out? What's going on?" He was like, "Well, the street is flooded, and the water
Oh,
starting to come into the house. Now, picture this: his house is elevated. It's elevated 3 feet off the ground, and the
okay.
water is already starting to come into his house off the street. His house sits 7 feet off the street, so all that water is starting to not just come in but rush in.
Ooh.
And he's telling me, unfortunately, we found a guy who has a boat who's coming up to the house to get us out the house right now. So I'm good for the most part, but I still got 2 family members who are away. My aunt is locked up in UMC, and then my cousin's on this cruise in the middle of the damn Gulf, and we can't really get in touch with her. Well, once they finally get the boat back to Galveston, my family doesn't know anything about Texas. I had to make my way to Galveston to pick up her and her family. In the meantime, once she gets in the car, we start looking for her mom, because by this point it's been several days that the hospital has been without power and we can't get in contact with her. Well, by random happenstance, I want to say like a day and a half or 2 days after I got my cousin and her family from Galveston, They call us. My aunt calls us and lets us know that she snuck out and made it to Lafayette by pure stroke of luck. She, um, some of the nurses were like dropped off on the bridge on the interstate, and they had an ambulance leaving out the city. And one of the nurses that she was with knew the driver of the ambulance, piled them all into the back of the ambulance, drove them up. I think it was to either Baton Rouge, and then they had to take another ride out to Lafayette, and then that's when I drove right back to Lafayette, got my aunt, and brought them back to Houston. At that point, my cousin and myself decided that we were going back to Baton Rouge, and I was going to actually enroll. I was supposed to enroll in LSU in 2005 anyway, transferring out from UNO. So it just kind of worked out, but didn't want that to be my first LSU experience coming off of Katrina. So Katrina it wasn't as dramatic as some people, and I'm blessed for that, but it still was a stressful moment. Like my
If it
house.
weren't for you, man, if it weren't for you, like making that move,
Yeah,
you were the one who convinced everybody in the story you
literally,
just told me. You
literally.
saved lives, dude, by making that decision. Because I mean, you guys were right in the heart of it.
Yes, like the house that my family grew up in ended up having 6.5 feet of water in it. Furniture was completely flipped, tossed over. Like my great grandmother had like this beautiful old fashioned china cabinet with expensive china. When we got to the house after they let us back into the city just to kind of view things, I had to bust through that door with that china cabinet in the front room. And mind you, that china cabinet was about 25 feet back from the front door. So, like, the entire house was flipped. It was
Whew.
insane to see, man. Like, and that was just that house. Like the house I was living in with my mom and my sister. Fortunately, it was a high elevated house. It's a 2-story house. We had a basement and an apartment downstairs, and we stayed in the above portion of the house. But the basement part of the house had 6 feet of water in it. So the upstairs part was fine, but the basement was completely demolished. It was a mess, man.
Oh, and how long do you think in years or even months was it until you guys were kind of fully recovered, like financially or with the house from it? But obviously that is stuff that stays with you for life.
Never, because once my cousin who went to medical school and went to Spelman, once we made the decision to go to Baton Rouge, my family didn't want us to split naturally. So they all decided to come to Baton Rouge with us. Well, a couple months after that, my aunt died. Literally, like Katrina happened in August, my aunt died in October, and so we had to deal with that.
Damn.
And then 2 years after that, my great grandmother passed, and it was like it was rough, man. We are still feeling the effects from that as a family. Will I say that like financially we recovered? In a sense, yeah. I mean, we've been able to move on. Nobody's like throwing piss out of a window. Excuse my language, but like we got roofs over our head. We're paying our bills. Things are settled in. But the mental grief is something that you never really get over. You just you learn to live with it. And we're doing we've done a lot to come far, and there's a lot of repairing that we've done as a family to fix from those situations, because being thrust in moments like that can break you down. And we had a lot of damage that we didn't realize that we were dealing with from that, and we're starting to make those strides to get everything back together and get everything in order.
Man, so much respect for you and the stuff you've been through and how you've handled it, and also just, I mean, having the foresight and the will to not listen to everyone else and the kind of indecision and the confusion, and in that moment be like, I'm going to get the hell out of here, and I'm going to take as many people with me. You saved lives of people in your family and other people connected. It's an incredible moment that you had there, but right in the moment of the worst type of adversity that you'll hopefully ever face.
Yeah, and see, I don't want to look at it as I saved anyone because I'm not gonna lie, I was also willing to not save them too. I did my best to convince them and to make sure that they saw like how serious I was, that this wasn't something that we needed to be playing with. And I was
Yeah.
comfortable with the idea of leaving the city and not taking anyone with me because most of my life was me figuring things out on my own at that point. So I'm used to y'all not being around. I want y'all to leave for our whole family because I think it would be better for everyone. But
Yeah.
also at the end of the day, like I still have to make the best decision for myself. And that type of mentality can get you into a lot of dangerous spots too.
Absolutely. Oh well, you mentioned this guy before, and I'm wondering if you've basically already answered this question. It is So Herb Tyler is that LSU Tiger, that single LSU Tiger that really solidified your love for LSU.
Yes.
Herb Tyler, 14. Man, what a badass number 14 was. If you
Oh my
haven't seen
god.
any film, I wish I had prepared some film knowing that just I should have known that that would be the answer to his question. You had already waxed lyrical about Herb Tyler on the last show we did. The dude is so like he is so incredibly underrated. His numbers aren't sexy in like a
No.
2026 sense, but if you look at it through the lens of like
The
how
time,
many
the era.
touchdowns and people, yeah, how many touchdowns people threw for or rushed for back then, um man, he was sick. He was sick. And how many rushing touchdowns the running backs were getting? I mean, they were just getting everything at the time. So
Right. It
quarterbacks were
was
getting like 18 or 19. There was years where people are like Aikman was the best quarterback in the league and threw for like 19 touchdowns. It's like, yeah,
right.
it's a
19
different
touchdowns
league.
to 12 picks.
Yeah. Herb Tyler, man, what a badass, and what, kind of a forgotten, let's be honest, kind of a forgotten
I mean, look,
signal caller in LSU
his
history.
career stats for LSU are 50, just under 5,900 yards and 40 total touchdowns. 40 touchdowns through the air. Like
Damn, how many rushing touchdowns for Herb Tyler? I'm gonna
23 in his
Good lord.
career.
Okay, wow, 63 total freaking touchdowns. I
Like
mean, he's one of the best. I mean, if you look at he's at least got to be in the top 10 for a lot of these numbers in LSU
absolutely.
history. I haven't looked
Absolutely.
at the records yet, but let me look that up real quick. But AP, what were some of the historic moments in Tiger history you were there and dedicated as a dedicated fan, and you were there, to witness growing
The
up?
seminal moment that I was able to witness and I'll never forget it. Like I said, I was already in love with LSU when I fell in love with Herb Tyler and 14 and all the things he did, right? And Kevin Falk, of course, and to bring back the magic with the Jerry DiNardo days. But the moment I knew I was willing to fight for LSU, I was in the stands for the Florida game with Darius Geis.
Ah,
I was in the end zone. I was sitting in the end zone, in the corner of the end zone, and I watched live in person Darius Geis take the wrong step. And I said it when he did it. And at that moment, I realized I'm willing to fight for this because we should have won this game.
yes.
I don't want to hear no talking from a Florida fan because if Darius Geis doesn't take that false step, he walks into the end zone and we pull off an upset. It was ridiculous. That
Man,
game
there's
stands out the most to me. I mean, I was already I was in the stands too for 2019 for the LSU Florida game in
yes.
2019. The 2020 game when Ty Davis Price goes off against Florida, I was in the stands for that. I was in the stands for the Jaden Daniels epic Heisman Trophy winning moment for Florida. Me and my son got to take that game in together. And then I was also in the stands for Kyron Lacey's game winner against Ole Miss. And I was also, unfortunately, in the stands for Jalen Milroe running roughshod through our defense most of the season. So I've had
Man,
my fair share of ups and downs being in Tiger Stadium, to say the least.
man, some of those Jalen Milroe games, it was like, oh, in that 2020 game against Bo Nix, where Bo Nix just destroyed us on the ground. I was like,
Those fourth and bow moments.
man, like Bo Nix was destroying Jacoby Stevens. Like Jacoby Stevens had a hell of an LSU career, but
Yes.
he was impaling him on the day. I don't know what was going on, if he was playing through injury or what, but Bo Nix went for over 200 rushing on us, I think, or at least close. It was crazy.
It was
Um,
ridiculous.
who were the folks you usually went to games with?
So, a couple of my good friends, one of my mentor is the one who brought me to the LSU Florida Darius Geis debacle. And then I have a best friend who's unfortunately from Baton Rouge, got dropped on his head as a baby, and is a Florida fan. So I go to games with. Yeah, I know it's
Whoa.
your brain on drugs, kids. Don't do drugs. Um, so
Oh
I
my
go to games
God.
with him, but for the most part, like recently, I've been going with my son and my wife. And I tell my wife this all the time. I don't like going to games without either one of them, especially my wife, because I like to make sure we have those memories together. Like I've seen my wife over the years since we were in high school, um, since like grow into loving football. Like my wife was not a football fan, and now she is. So seeing my son standing in the corner talking about some "Go Tigers" as he's holding up the L's. He's a
Yes,
beautiful
sir. Yes,
Tennessee
sir,
boy.
my man.
So,
Yes, sir.
so seeing her love for football and then her knowledge of the game grow excites me for her to come to these games even more so, because now she's calling out penalties, she's recognizing plays, she's recognizing missed assignments. It's a beautiful thing to watch. So, like earlier this year when I started the podcast, she was like, you should get your season tickets again. And I was like, yeah, but we kind of can't afford that right now. She was like, well, we could afford one. We could get one season ticket. Because that way you could go to the games, and that'll help you cover that'll help you with the podcast. And I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. I said, but
You are such a lucky man.
bruh, I am truly blessed. And I told her, I said, you're right. I said, but at the end of the day, I don't like going to the games unless you're with me. So what am I doing? I'm gonna sit there. Yeah, it's gonna help the podcast, but at the end of the day, I'm not gonna get anything out of it because I'm gonna be thinking about you, missing you the entire time, like sitting there by myself. So I'd rather watch the game at home with you. Reach out to a couple people who were around Tiger Stadium, get the feel for the vibes out there, or maybe we go tailgate and watch the game somewhere else. Like there are options. We can always do things. Like that's the beauty of being an LSU fan. So we'll figure all that out though. But man, I love being able to have my wife immersed into this with me.
Dude, like as supportive as Chelsea is, and she's incredibly supportive, goes above and beyond to give me the time to do this. Like she has zero, like she gives zero shits about LSU. She loved when we saw the locker room, and she loved meeting the people, and she loves the people that we've met. But as far as the actual game of football, she could give a fuck. She's
Right.
like, who gives a shit? So lucky man, dude. Like lucky man in that respect. But AP, I always wanted to ask you this question. You know, what to you 2019 seems to be obviously the favorite LSU season for people for obvious reasons. What I'm just gonna say it to you like this to kind of get you thinking like outside of 2019, even if 2019 is the answer. What is your favorite non 2019 LSU season?
2011.
Ah, yes.
2011.
What a ride, man.
2011.
And that
20.
offense was a lot better than people think it. Yes,
Yes,
horrible
exactly.
national title game, but they were scoring a lot of points up until
That
then.
that was a That's what you call a coaching malpractice.
Yes.
That's when coaching matters, and you saw it in that game. I think Les Miles was more pissed off for a month that he was playing Bama instead of worrying about preparing to play Bama for a month.
You're
Because
probably right.
if we play Oklahoma State like we're supposed to,
Yes.
we blow the doors off of them without a question, and everyone knows that. But that 2011, and I'm gonna tell you why that team is my favorite outside of 2019, because unlike the normal fan, I like defensive struggles. I
Me
love
too.
a defensive struggle, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because it pulls you in. Like the one missed block, one drop pass, one bad punt can literally cause you to lose. That 2011 team gave you everything. It was a complete team. You needed punt returns, kickoff returns. You needed defensive turnovers. You had to have big plays on offense. You had to have running game consistently on offense. You had to have elite blocking. You had to have trench play. You couldn't have a more complete team than that 2011 team. That 2011 team was more complete than the 2019 team. The 2019 team just was overwhelmingly powerful offensively. It still had holes on defense. Ole Miss was able to take advantage of it, and one of the team's Achilles' heels for 2019 was the fact that it would score too fast and wear out an already kind of limited defense.
Yes, I said that so many times at the time. Like, dude, we're scoring way too many quick fire touchdowns. We're sending our defense out there for so many more drives, and people are, who gives a shit? What are you talking about? I'm like, that's why we're winning 66 to like 33 against Vanderbilt. You know, that's why we're winning 58 to 30, whatever, and allowing John Rice Plumlee to go 300 on us.
Right. We could have easily won games 42 to 17 or 38 to 10, 38-21, you know, but instead we're scoring 66 points and putting up 572 yards of offense, but the time of possession is even because we keep running the defense right back out there. Like, was there ever a thought that we were going to lose? No, because no team could have kept up with that offense. But John Rice Plumlee and Lane Kiffin played that team the way that you're supposed to play that team, along with Florida. Florida played that 2019 team the way that you're supposed to play that team. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. The box score 58 to 37 against Ole Miss. That game was close, and in the second half, it was just tit for tat. We shut them out in the first quarter, and in the first half, it was 31-7. But the third and fourth quarter, you gave up 30 points, and you only scored 27.
And that was madness. And Kiffin was still at Florida Atlantic, actually, but I'm sorry, that wasn't
who
was it?
Kiffin.
Who was it at Ole Miss?
Who was the Ole Miss coach?
And by the way, Herb Tyler, 6th all-time in passing touchdowns at LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Herb Tyler is also 8th all-time in passing yards at 5,876. So he's quite formidable. He's up there. Herb Tyler's 6th all-time in passing touchdowns at 40. I mean, damn. What a player.
Bro, it was Matt Luke. That's who the head coach was.
Matt Luke. Oh, my God, Matt Luke. What a name. Matt Luke.
The most forgettable head coach in history.
Absolutely, because even I, for a second, was like, that was, Kiffin, yeah. And then
I thought it was Kiffin, too.
And then I'm like, wait, Kiffin started in the pandemic.
He started in 2020. And I even talked about that on my pod, how 2020 was his first season at Ole Miss. But the fact that they were putting up numbers like that, like you could deceive yourself into believing that it was Lane.
Absolutely, that was just and we had a very injured defense. Delpit playing with one ankle. Rashard Lawrence was hurt. God, who else was hurt? There was a few guys. Michael Divinity was out
Michael
most of the
Divinity
season.
yeah.
Patrick Queen was awesome. Stepped up. Was an absolute baller into the level of a first round pick. And then he's done pretty damn. He's done pretty damn good in the NFL.
Yeah, he has. I
I'm a
wouldn't
big
be
fan
mad
of
if
Queen.
the Steelers released him and the Saints pick him up. Honestly,
Like I'm a fan of Queen.
me too.
He's had some struggles and some whatever, but I'm a big fan of what he can bring. But so that 2011 team, man, that that's the thing, is that national championship loss was absolutely. I mean, what is that? That was one of the first nights I hung out with Chelsea, was watching that game. Me and her grandfather were watching that game. And her grandpa like leaves after like a half hour and goes, "Your team's gonna lose." And I'm like, "Yeah, Bill, I think you're right." And then I'm like, "No, he's not. We're only down 6-0, the old bastard. Like, how dare you, Bill? We're gonna come back." And then of course the old man was right. It was unreal what we could not do in that game. Um, AP, who is the most underrated LSU Tiger in the football program's history, in your opinion?
Oh, in the history of the program. Oh man. I mean, there's so many. Guys like to forget about O linemen. A lot.
Yes,
And I forgot who was the Austin Deculus needs to get a lot more love because here's a guy who put on for so many years
I love Deculus.
for LSU through the good and the bad. You could count on Deculus showing up no matter how battered, how beat up he was, and gutting it out and giving his all.
Yes,
Hands down. Hands down. So Austin Deculus is definitely one of those ones that stand out a lot to me. Um, I mean, if you go D line, I'm gonna shout out my guy Marlon Favorite, a guy who was a plug and play situational starter and held down the D line when he had to, especially filling the shoes with Glenn Dorsey. Drake Nevis is another one. That's my guy too. I know Drake. Drake trains my son. But I also
that's awesome.
yeah, I
Love
mean, I
Drake
could
Nevis.
I could text Drake right now. That is legitimately like my guy. And I mean, he ended up being a third round pick playing in the league for a while. But I mean, Drake was underrated. And people don't talk about Drake
Dude,
enough. But here's
that dude
another
was
O
a
lineman for you.
savage.
Here's another O lineman for you. Cornell Stewart.
Okay. Wow. You're bringing out some really, I mean, Drake Nevis is someone I thought was awesome and got lost in the shuffle of that era because there was
Mm-hmm.
just all these other sexier names. Drake Nevis was a badass.
Yes.
There's these players in these eras of LSU that if they had been in any other era would be the guy, but they show up in this era where they're in this like 3 or 4 or 5 deep in the position group, and it's just, man, so glad the LSU didn't have the portal back then, so we could actually hang on to a lot of these guys. I mean, God forbid what would have happened if some of these guys who didn't play their first 2 years would have left, and we wouldn't have found out how good they would have been at LSU, because there's some guys like that who kind of developed as they went along. AP, coming into recent times, since 2019, I've kind of wondered about this. LSU has really been headed on like a delayed kind of downward spiral, a few steps forward. You had an SEC title game appearance in 2022. You had that multiple 10-win seasons. You thought you were building something. You had a Heisman winner, a guy who really should have won the Biletnikoff, like really was robbed of that thing.
Yes.
Malik Neighbors became your all-time leading receiver as well. You've had 6 first-round picks in this era. You've got Chase Stingley from that leftover from that 2019 team, but they stayed for at least a year. Chase didn't, but he stayed for the next team and then opted out, as we know.
Right.
Stingley played for the next year. And then Jane Daniels, Malik, Brian Thomas Jr., and then Big Will Campbell. But there's been 6-win seasons, 7-win seasons, barely 8 wins last year. Total calamity. You're just getting embarrassed. 5 straight season opening losses. Just unreal, and some in like the most unforgivingly like humiliating, disgusting, like just
Like, what the
absolute
hell are you doing type
disgraceful.
ways.
Like the whole world is watching, like, and you're getting humiliated, just getting run over. Um, Unbelievable type of ways. 2022 to Tennessee, that game, the 2024 Alabama, and then the 2024 Florida game, how you should have beat a 4-5 team, and that 4-5 team beat you by double digits. 2025 A&M, of course,
Oh,
the lowest
the
point.
2022 A&M in College
2022
Station.
A&M. You could bring up so many of the A&M matchups. 2024 A&M as well, where we get demolished. Why did LSU, and this is over 2 different head coaches, why did LSU have this post 2019 crash out?
Culture.
And now under Kiffin, there's a feeling like we're just finally activating the progress, the mythology, and the power of that 2019 season, really cashing in on that, and the 2023 offensive juggernaut. What do you think LSU scholars like you and I will say about
I'm
this
telling you,
era?
it is the culture. Culture breeds success. And the culture that was left over was a culture of complacency. That 2019 team taught that staff that, oh, we could just roll the ball out there. Not even spot it. We could just roll the ball out there and we're going to be it. See, they didn't know how to manage the success that they had attained. And when the new staff came in that followed that 2019 staff that made all those accomplishments, they had success at other places. So they thought that they could bring in the same level of complacency and tie it with a brand who's elevated every single coach before them, right? They had the mentality of, I'm going to just show up, and because it's LSU, it's going to work. Well, no, it doesn't work like that. This school specifically will give you everything you put into it. It's going to give it to you. If you put in 110% effort, you're going to get 120% reward. You put in half-ass effort, you're going to get half-ass reward. Plain and simple. You can see Lane Kiffin in the early stages investing maximum effort, not just into the football program, but into the culture of the state. He's identifying with the people and the residents to breed a success that we haven't seen since Nick Saban. Because that's what's going to get him into the doors for these elite level recruits. It's not just a success on the field, because parents don't care about how many games you win. How are you going to take care of my child? What do you know about us and the things that we're dealing with down here? You're not from here, so how can you tell me about kids getting killed because they're going to a Mardi Gras parade, or trying to figure out where the next meal is going to come from, or what have you done to deal with loss of a teammate or a player to gun violence? Well, guess what? Unfortunately for Lane Kiffin, he can talk to all of that, because now he himself has been a part of Mardi Gras. Co-Grand Marshal of Endymion, first season. And he even admitted it last night. Never been to Mardi Gras before. He can deal with how kids have been struggling, trying to make sure that they're eating right, where their next meals are going to come from, what their work life is going to look, what their work life, school life balance is going to look like at LSU, because of the things that LSU offers that the school in Oxford didn't. And unfortunately, he can also speak to what it feels like to have to deal with the loss, the tragic loss of a player to gun violence. He dealt with that from a kid that my son played with in high school.
I think I remember you saying that in like a chat or something.
Yeah.
That's coming to my mind.
Corey Adams, God rest rest his soul. And I get emotional every time I talk about Corey because Corey was a kid that I knew personally, and I had a personal relationship with, that would come up to my truck and sit in the truck with me and my son and talk for hours just about life, who took my son under his wing. And when he committed to Ole Miss, as much of a non Ole Miss fan I am, I still celebrated that with him. And I even told him, when you find out your number in August, when the season starts, I'm going to order a jersey, make sure your name is on it so you get the NIL money for it. But unfortunately, he never got to August.
Man,
He never got to August. And I will always have a special spot in my heart for Ole Miss because of that. But understanding what that feels like, and then not knowing back then in early August, late July, that Lane Kiffin was on the path to becoming the head coach at LSU. Seeing Lane Kiffin with my own two eyes, I have a picture of him. He doesn't even know I took this picture. I'm standing behind him as we're walking into the church for the
I've seen
funeral
this.
service.
Yes.
And I clipped the picture of it, not knowing what it was going to lead to, not knowing that I was going to be doing a podcast, not knowing that he was going to eventually share my stuff on Twitter, be the coach at LSU, follow me. Nobody saw that foresight coming. But I took that picture as a reminder to myself and to show my son, don't let people tell you about somebody. Let their actions tell you for themselves. This man right here showing up for this family, for this community, for this school, for this player that he probably didn't have a direct relationship with recruiting, shows a lot. That's a good man. He's not just a good coach. He's a good man. And I can tell you personally, I know the person who wasn't there that day, and not saying that Pete Golding should have been there, but Lane Kiffin was. And that will forever mean a whole hell of a lot to me, and says a lot about his character more so than anyone else's.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's just fantastic. I remember seeing those photos, and I remember being like, wow, because I remember your connection with it and just having some chills of like, okay, he probably didn't coach this kid. I'm looking at the timeline. Yeah, I probably didn't coach this kid, but he's like, okay, he still remembers that whole thing, still was invested in that moment. And, years have gone on. And I remember him bringing up that case maybe a few months back or something when Ole Miss was during the season, they were doing a tribute or something. Like, I remember him talking about it, and he spoke about it like, that young man was his own player. And I was like, I've never witnessed Brian Kelly even speak about like Jaden Daniels in this type of way, like with this type of warmth. And like, Jaden won a Heisman for his ass. So,
And then you see him do it again when he does his press conference a couple weeks ago a week ago after after National Signing Day, and he talks about T.J. Dotery and the things that we from the public perception, well, what up, LaCobra? We from the public perception weren't privy to, and you can tell that this is a guy as a coach who takes his time out to invest into his players, into what they're going through and what they're dealing with. Like that means a lot to me. That speaks a lot to me. Like, I don't ever have to meet him a day in my life. Whatever people tell me about Lane Kiffin, his actions will always speak louder to me than anything else.
Oh God, yes.
Y'all know, we all know about the same amount of information that all these other trolls and idiots on Twitter try to tell us. We all know the same amount. Nobody knows him personally, except for the people that actually know him. So we have to allow ourselves to look at his actions and how he's supporting his players and those closely around him to determine the character that he has. And when you judge that compared to the previous staff that we had here, it's night and day.
And here's the thing: I before Kiffin even came to LSU, AP, um, there was a few Tigers who went from LSU, transferred to Ole Miss when Kiffin was still the coach this last year. Um, I asked them what hey, is it what's it like? We're playing for Lane Kiffin. I always was a big Lane Kiffin fan, so I'm like, what's it like, man? And every one of those dudes, and I think two of the three actually liked Brian Kelly. They didn't really have like a personal axe to grind against Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they are all like, "Oh, dude, it's night and day." Like the way that we're being treated, it's not as high tech or as up to date as LSU's facilities. It's kind of ho hum po dunk, but the way we're being treated, top notch. So I always knew that behind the scenes was that okay, Kiffin. People can talk a lot of shit about him, but when it comes down to it, he does love the media. He does love the attention, but he actually gives a shit. And there's people like Brian Kelly who maybe did not. What are your feelings on Brian Kelly, AP, and his tenure as head coach?
A lot more left to be desired. I mean, you walk in the building as college football's most winningest head coach, right? You instantly expect that to translate to LSU, and nothing short of a national championship should have been the expectation. But you can also see that he didn't care to get a feel for the culture down here.
No.
He right out the gate with the staff moves that he made right out the gate. And like I tell everybody, we hired him, so we need to trust the decision making that he's making. Like we can know that it's going to be wrong, that it can end up bad. Maybe he has something else up his sleeve. What did it for me though was not just making the changeover that he made, but him not being face front lines on the recruiting trails in these high schools. So you can get rid of Corey Raymond, get rid of all the defensive staff recruiters like you had in Blake Baker, blow them out the door. Cool, but if you're not going to be the guy that's walking into these high schools and you're just leaving it up to Frank, you're screwing yourself.
Embarrassing, man, because you see how Kiffin's doing it, and it's like Kelly. All you had to do was literally so many stories I've heard, brother. So many stories I've heard, AP, where I'm getting calls from people who some still with LSU, some not, who are behind the scenes on recruiting, on staff, some are on the recruiting staff, but equally told me stories about big time 5-star guys that we all know that we didn't completely missed out on that just needed a meeting with Kelly, just needed a
Yep.
phone call with
Just
him.
need a phone call. I can tell you, I know for a fact that
He wouldn't do it.
that the number one cornerback in the state, Hayward Howard Jr., didn't meet with Kelly until it was too late,
Yeah.
and then he still had to go to Baton Rouge to do it. Like absurd, absurd, absolutely ridiculous. His whole recruiting thing was he was the closer. Get get the kids here, and he would close the deal.
And then he wouldn't even meet it with him.
And he wouldn't meet right, like getting them there around his schedule. Get out of here, man. Get out of here.
Then that's the thing, man. Is that's what I think we love so much about Lane Kiffin. Is yes, okay. What if he has a couple seasons that are tough? I think we will be able to ride with him and support him more likely when we're seeing stuff like this. You know,
Look, we're from
okay,
Louisiana. We like
he's just
sparkles,
he's
we
just
like
taking
diamonds,
photos.
we like Mardi Gras, we like to eat, and we like to party.
He's just taking photos with people. He's just doing the autographs. But did you see Kelly do that once in 4
Not
years?
once. Not once.
Not once.
Not
Not
once. I mean,
once.
they're supposed to be having a meet and greet in on Friday with some players and in Lane, and I'm thinking about going.
Go.
Um, like just
Dude, go.
because, just because, like
Absolutely go.
but
If I'm in the state of Louisiana, I'm going to that.
right,
You go.
but
You
Brian
got to
Kelly
go.
never did things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that makes a difference. It also gives you insurance from the fans not turning on you.
Oh hell
You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like, we will give you grace because you keep showing us so much love. Like, why you think why you think the fans were in the uproar when Edo got canned? It
Yeah.
wasn't because he was great. It was because Edo loved the culture. He was one of us, right?
Mhm.
So if if Lane is literally buying into this place, and you can see the more he's outside, the more he's falling in love with it, the
Oh
more the
yeah.
people are gonna fall in love with him.
And that's what Louisiana's like, man. That's why I'm like, I get depressed when I'm not there. I get depressed when oh God, I'm missing out on this. Oh God, because I remember going to Mardi Gras 2023 with we took my family there. My son was just barely, I think he was like he's maybe like 5 months old at the time, maybe 6, 7 months. Um, very little still at the time. We met a lot of people, did a lot of stuff, had a lot of dinners with cool people associated with players and stuff like that. But then going to Mardi Gras, going to some of these big time restaurants that you've heard a lot about. Oh, we got to go to Paraines for the first time. We got to all these different Mike Andersons. Oh, what is it? Is it
Rafino's.
Rafino's? That
Yeah.
place was incredible. I love that
Yes.
place. Me and my dad went there. I think 3 times just in the space of like 4 days because we were just like, this is too good. We can't stop. Um, like it is an addictive culture because people still um actually speak to one another in kind of this you feel like you're going back in time to the 80s or 90s, man, like
Yeah.
where there's an openness to people. I was
Right.
worried. Me and my dad are staying at a hotel, okay, and I'm worried because I see my dad talking to a trucker. And if you had been in my situation, you would have been worried too. The whole scene looked wrong, right? Right? I go out there and they're like, "Hey man," like everything is like they're just like about to go light up a joint together or something. It was like this is hilarious. Like I was worried my dad was like being all Trump supporter with this guy, and instead they're like all getting along and it's total harmony, and it's like, oh man, this is so like even my own dad is getting the Louisiana chill here. Like
Yep.
it is a very it's a very intoxicating place in many ways, many more ways than one. Um, AP, how much time do you have left?
Well, I gotta. My wife just texted me. She's unfortunately at work. She had to work the parade for Bacchus tonight, and we both thought that she was gonna be working a lot later than what she is right now. So I need to go pick her up. And honestly, I'm kind of grateful because I had a little bit of a medical emergency earlier today. I was supposed to go to the box today with my boys Paul and David. I got invited to a suite, but I guess I've been burning the candle at both ends. I had a little bit of a situation, and I had a little bit of a medical scare, but I'm good now. So feeling a little bit better. That's why
Dude,
I wasn't gonna stop this from stopping me from getting on here with you. Like I said, I've been too excited to push this back. I'm not gonna do that.
we could have totally rescheduled, man. Like
I
your
know.
health comes first. You got me worried here, man. What's
Nah, man, I'm good, man. I feel better now. I got some much needed rest throughout the day, and I'm up and at 'em. Like if I'll put it to you like this, my wife wasn't comfortable with me driving to Baton Rouge and driving back by myself, and understandably so. But she's comfortable enough with me driving to come pick her up, and I wanted to drop her off at work and come pick her up to show her that I was feeling fine. So I am good, and I want to thank Paul and David and Cobra for like their thoughts, and prayers, and their concerns. Um, Look, I love doing this. I would sit here all day. I'll never forget Cobra, man, at all. Like never. Like I love you boys. Y'all are my baseball trio, man. Y'all get me through. Y'all getting me through this season, brother. Um, and look, we missed today, but fortunately, we got more games at the box, and I'm definitely gonna link up with y'all. So
dude? That's the thing is I kind of I felt like there's something up, but man, get feeling better. We our absolutely thoughts and prayers are completely with you and your recovery, and just hopefully nothing more goes down. Keep us updated, brother.
yeah, absolutely, man. And look, I'm gonna be jumping on with the Go team in a little while. It might be a little bit later since I gotta go pick her up in this mess of Bacchus traffic. But and I'm gonna call Daniel here in a second to talk to him about that. But I just want to thank y'all, man. Like, wouldn't be here without this, and I speak to it a lot. Like, there's something different going on in Louisiana. There's this bubbling sensation of unity, and I love it. Don't mess around and let LSU make the playoffs this season, which I think they will. And you're going to see this state come together like we've never seen before. It's going to be absolutely amazing. The vibes are high, but most importantly, I'm enjoying the community that we're building. And I appreciate all the support that I'm getting with this podcast because I'm just another guy turning on the camera and the mic and just sharing my thoughts and opinions. And I value the fact that you guys appreciate the opinions that I'm bringing to the table. And then we can do things like this, Lon. And this won't be the last time. Like, whenever you want to jump on, let me know because me and you could go for hours, bro. And I love the conversations that we have because there's so much. You're a well of knowledge, especially with history of LSU. You can appreciate talking about those gems of players on in the lines of scrimmage, and not too many people can dig that up. And I love that, man. I love the work that you're doing. So you keep grinding too, man. Like you've inspired me, and I want to make sure that I keep ascending to the levels that you guys have set before me, and I break through doors and break down barriers and bring guys with me. So
Man, no, 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 no. You are well on your way, man. You're an amazing dude, and you're giving me too many compliments, bro. AP, you're a man. You're the man, and get there safely, pick her up safely, and get back safely, man. And prayers for your recovery, and thank you, brother.
we'll do. Love you guys. Go Tigers.
That was AP of Timeouts and Tangents joining the show. We didn't get to talk to him about the 2026 LSU Tigers. That's the thing is, I didn't expect us to get into Hurricane Katrina and stuff like that. I didn't know he was from New Orleans. We got into that because that was something that needed to kind of be talked about. I think I sensed that was something he wanted to share, and I thank him for sharing that those experiences with us because that was incredible. Some of the stuff I've heard over the years about people and what they've gone through and what they've been able to get through or maybe succumb to with Katrina is just nothing short of unfathomable, unbelievable, unimaginable, especially from someone in a landlocked state like myself. But it's just also the complete government abyss, zero help for the people from a state to a federal level. Like everything failed, levees built terribly, infrastructure was destructive and needed repairing, and so many state and local and federal just officials, just everything was swampus. And when things hit and when things broke, the floods began and a lot of people perished, and it's just one of the worst tragedies in American history. And I almost feel um, I almost feel like weird talking about it because I didn't go through it. Like I feel like it was such a bad thing that happened, and such an unimaginable thing that happened where your home's destroyed, but then like you're losing family members, you're losing them in unimaginable ways. And then even after that, then the lawlessness that happened. No one from the federal government came in to help these people. The the stuff that happened in the Superdome. Like I feel like I too uneducated about it to speak on that. Maybe one of these days, I've always wanted to really kind of get into researching that and talk to the people who went through that and actually kind of come up with something that is the definitive kind of Katrina story. And it's just basically survivor accounts and just kind of a compilation of the survivor accounts. I think that would be something that would be absolutely unbelievable and a way to kind of not pay tribute or anything like that, but just show and define what these people went through and what they were able to survive. It was incredible. People who survived that, I can't even imagine. And AP is one of those people, and because of his quick thinking, he's able to save family members, and it's just incredible. Incredible dude. We were going to talk to him next about the 2026 LSU Tigers, his thoughts on like where this team's going, like the players that he's kind of keeping his eye on, things like that, and hopefully we'll get another conversation and be able to ask him about that, because definitely want to hear his takes on some of the nooks and crannies of this 2026 team. It's very interesting. Paul, oh no, it's G Moose 67 says, it was brutal, man. I stayed here for the storm. I'll never forget it. God, G Moose. And then he says, how we got screwed over by the big insurance companies was the worst part too. Dude, I even forgot about that. But you guys definitely didn't forget about that part, because that was like you had everything taken from all this horrible thing, and then they just, I don't know how they could legally get away with that. And I don't know how our government couldn't just say, no, we're a capitalist society. You said you were going to fulfill this service that they paid for. You entered into the contract with this customer, with this insurance plan, and now you were trying to fuck them over completely because you don't want to pay for this disaster that has happened. I'm sorry. Then why did you get in the insurance game? And I understand they don't want, the insurance company will fail. No, it will not. They can freeze their bonuses for a second, liquidate some assets, get a few more loans. These insurance companies have all of these levers that they can pull in these situations. They're never going to go under. It's just a bullshit claim so that they don't have to pay you. And it's also disgusting that our federal government wouldn't say, hey, we believe in capitalism. What you're doing is the most anti-capitalist thing imaginable. You are literally robbing people blind. They paid you for this insurance coverage, and now you're not delivering it. I can't think of anything more criminal. I really wish the people who did that have constant curses placed upon them, because there's nothing more inhumane, more disgusting. I'm going to profit off of the deaths of everyone else, and then when they're destitute, I'll profit some more. Sorry to go on a rant, but this is not about politics to me. This is about right and wrong, and it's kind of gross. And it just, you find yourself thinking about more things than just sports nowadays. As dialed in and as obsessed with sports as I am, there's a lot of stuff going on right now that makes you really wonder what the future of this country is, man. But well, that's above our pay grade. So we're not a pay grade. We're not paid at all. We're barely, ever since our Twitter account that had almost 10,000 followers, or I think it did have 10,000 followers. Either it had 10,000 followers or it was close. Ever since that account has been shut down, our audience has been severely limited. You're seeing only very limited numbers. And then once it hits our site and things like that, the numbers pick up. But we've basically been silenced and canceled on social media. And so if you want to help us out, and with the algorithm, if you want to help us out, if you believe in independent media and people like us, you like what we've done in the past or doing now, or especially what we could do in the future, definitely subscribe to the site, as well as a click here, a like here on the video. It's huge. It's a big deal for us. A retweet helps. A follow on Twitter help us rebuild that Twitter account. We do have Cody Warsham, who helped Jacques Doucet get his Twitter account back. Cody Warsham is on the case, and he's trying to help us hopefully get our Twitter account unsuspended and back into our hands, which would be great. But I kind of don't think that'll happen. So if you want to help us with that, that'd be great. Paul Tarver, what's up, Paul? He says law and levies failed because money appropriated years before to reinforce them not spent. Corrupt state and local officials failed the people. Yep. Absolutely, brother. Well, sucks that the show had to end shortly. That's what I was worried about tonight. It seemed like because AP had another show to do with the Go team. So I guess there's a scheduling conflict there. I was worried about it because I think this show is about to go to another level, but it's all good. We have some more stuff coming up soon. We have constant 2026 profile articles coming from on the site. Yes, they're not videos, they're articles, but we can do video or like read versions of those articles as well if you guys want. That'd be kind of like two worlds meeting together. Be very interesting. Anyway, everybody, have a good rest of your Sunday. Thank you very much. Go Tigers, of course.